They create chaos, and they create control.
Over the world headquarters in Switzerland of the World Masonic Headquarters for World Freemasonry, over the door is Ordo ab Chao, which is Latin for order out of chaos. And all Freemasons know that term, Ordo ab Chao. Order out of chaos. The concept is to create chaos, to create the problems. Then while the people are frightened to death of all the crime and everything that seems to be out of control, a riotous situation, the government then moves in with justification. In order to put down this terrible chaos, they must have full power of the military.
You already know what it is. It's your boy Laid Back with another reaction, another review, another episode. Hey, TikTok, you up to bat. Wow. It's your boy Laid Back. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, two things we got to do. You got to hit that subscribe button. I'm drinking this water. You already know what it is, man. You are the prize in 2025. You are the prize in 2025. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Stay up to date with all the videos. We back with another reaction, man. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you do that. We got another conspiracy theory, secret society type stuff going on with this one. So this is going to be some stuff that's going on behind the scenes, you know what I'm saying? You make it to the end of this one, you a real one for real. Make sure you put that in the comments. Don't forget to do that. Also, share this with the last person you text in your phone if you are a real one, you know what I'm saying? Also, I got a TikTok playlist. If you into this stuff, you can binge watch, but I got to tell you, proceed with caution because there's a lot of stuff in here. But let's go ahead and get into it. Fire Squad, what's popping? Let's get it.
I was in the Brotherhood, as you know, a secret society. I learned how to use your mind to manipulate energy and matter and manifest goals, dreams, and desires. That's what I learned. I learned it from people that were worth hundreds of millions of dollars and who are worth billions of dollars.
Oh, shit.
I learned it by members of royal families. These were members of the Brotherhood. Billionaires, the biggest, most powerful movers and shakers in the world. That's who is in the Brotherhood. They're senior to Skull and Bones. They're senior to Bohemian Grove, the Council on Foreign Relations.
Whoa.
But they're all interrelated. And I was inducted into that organization back in the late 60s when I was very young. And I was taught how to use the mind to manipulate energy. I used those techniques to do lots of things, which we'll talk about in a future episode. But I used those techniques to generate companies that generated billions of dollars in sales in Australia, in the US, in Canada, South Africa, the UK, and some parts of Europe. I applied what I learned, showing and proving that it works. I manifested my dreams.
Come on, man. Do your own research, but come on, man.
Is Lucifer the god of the Freemasons? Yes. To join Freemasonry, you have to be invited. You can't just join it. And the general sort of understanding is that this is going to be very good for business, for social interaction, for your career.
So they allow you to worship like Jehovah or Yahweh?
You can worship any god you want, but that's the only qualification, because they're going to convert whoever they are over to worshiping the great architect of the universe, Hail El, Satan. AI has the same destination whether you're doing it for good or evil. So it's like good magic and black magic.
Do these people know that they're advancing a system that has been prophesied as having to happen for the rise of the Antichrist, or do they not?
The fallen angels continue to tell their offspring, their descendants of their offspring, that they can still win.
Is there a hierarchy for these things like Illuminati, Freemasons?
The fairy tale concept goes back many years for when they're ready to reveal things that we would accept that more easily, and they can tell us that they told us, we just didn't understand. This fairy tale concept, both Tolkien and Lewis were talking about.
Come on, man. What's this shit, man? Already, man.
Back to 1776, the establishment of an organization known as the Illuminati. And if your listeners don't know what the Illuminati
1776.
I'm sure you guys remember last week when we talked about the Sewing Circle, which was a secret society of lesbian and bisexual women in old Hollywood who had to keep their true sexual orientation under wraps. These women would connect with each other, hang out, and of course have affairs. And we discussed the relationship between Lana Turner, Ava Gardner, and Barbara Payton, who are all somewhat related to this circle. But today I want to talk about how the circle began and the purpose of this social circle. So the Sewing Circle was started by this woman here, a Russian silent film star by the name of Alla Nazimova. Sorry, you guys. Alla was openly bisexual and wanted a space for other women like her to connect, and thus the circle was born. This circle connected women in the entertainment industry, whether they were actors, actresses, writers, producers, or if they were singers and other types of entertainers. The Sewing Circle was supposed to be sort of a playful, cheeky, reference for...
Come on, man. How's she gonna say cheeky? Cheeky when you talk... All right.
Women who have the same hobbies or proclivities. And this circle was active from the 1910s well into the 1950s, and many of some of the most recognizable names of old Hollywood were included in this circle, including, as you can see here, Marlene Dietrich, Tallulah Bankhead, Barbara Stanwyck, Greta Garbo, Billie Holiday, and Hattie McDaniel. And these are just the ones that are listed on this chart. There were many, many more. Some of these names y'all aren't even familiar with because, like I said, the circle wasn't just for actresses and singers and people on the stage. It was also for women behind the scenes as well. Women who were writing, who were directing, who were producing. Any woman who was queer and looking for a safe space or for someone to help get her rocks off with was welcome in the circle. And so there are plenty of names here that, have been either lost or forgotten to time from the silent era, or probably, like I said, people who weren't on the screen that you guys have never even heard of. If you guys are interested in learning more about the circle, I would love to make a full-length video on this, so let me know if y'all want to see that. And also, if you guys want to hear about some of the hookups and the affairs that took place within the circle, let me know. I'm probably going to be making that exclusive content or early access content on another platform. Any newsies? Bye.
I mean, I guess that was a secret society, openly secret society.
They said the Illuminati got another one, and this time in the gospel industry. Listen, I know all this stuff about the Illuminati and all that. I don't even like talking about any of this stuff, but the truth is there is a hierarchy. There are, higher people up that run the entertainment industry and all this stuff. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But somebody said there is a gospel artist who is a part of the Illuminati. Now, I'm not one of those types to be like, yeah, they are, because I don't know their personal life. But I do know there are certain things, certain symbols that you do, and certain gestures that pretty much shows who you're loyal to. So this gospel artist, he was hands down, he was one of my favorite artists when he was, doing his gospel music. Dope voices, crazy. Dude definitely came out came out the starting block swinging. His CDs were just anointed. They were. Ooh. He ended up signing with Akon. Y'all probably already know who I'm talking about. He ended up signing with Akon, and I'm assuming what happened was when he signed with Akon, a lot of his gospel music just stopped. Like, he kind of got out the picture. It's almost like the contract was like, yeah, we're going to give you all this money, but you can't do a lot of gospel music anymore. I mean, they do say, what profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? I'm not saying that's what happened, but I can tell you one thing. Once he signed that contract, you have not seen a lot from him, and the stuff that you have seen, you're just like, oh, okay, whatever. But I'm going to get into it. Let me let y'all see this picture and tell me what you think. Seriously, look at this picture. I do notice that, I ain't going to say it, but y'all know. What y'all think? Tell me what do y'all think? Because sometimes some people like, it was just, this. Listen, everything is intentional, especially when it comes to the entertainment industry. It's intentional. And so my stance on this is just continue to pray for our brothers and sisters in Christ, but also pray for those who don't even know Jesus, have a relationship with him, that they would come to know him for the personal Savior. Because the truth is, God said that it's his will that none perish, but all come to repentance. And so I don't care who you think, how bad an artist is, how far they've gone, God still wants to save them. And so if you have a heart like God, you want everybody to be saved. So this video is for entertainment purposes only. I'm just here to, give y'all the tea on what I think. Sorry, it was a 3-minute long video, but had to get to it.
I don't know that artist he talking about, though. Y'all let me know in the comments.
Secrets in the Freemasons? Were you not allowed to talk about it?
Well, bear in mind, now, secrets, in the Middle Ages, there were trade secrets and, building secrets, clearly. When you went through the process of initiation, you learned about these secrets. But it's not really that different, the idea, than, say, modern, commercial or industrial secrets. Coke keeps its formula secret.
Right.
And it's done so for 100 years.
Right.
But the thing is you got to realize that Freemasonry became an outlawed organization, right? During the Middle Ages, when the church was persecuting anybody who was branded a heretic, which could have meant anything that they wanted it to be, Freemasonry had to go underground. And that's the primary reason for the secrecy, is because it was a survival strategy. And it only reemerged in the early 1700s with the consolidation of 4 lodges in Britain to become the modern institution of Freemasonry.
So they went underground and became secret.
Do you know that some seniors at Yale have access to a secret island off the coast of New York? I'm going to break down one of the most famous secret collegiate societies in the world, Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones was founded at Yale University in 1832. Notable members include William Howard Taft, George H.W. Bush, and George W. Bush.
Whoa.
Their meeting place, which they call their tomb, is a big windowless building on High Street across from Old Campus where all the first years live. Every year in the spring, the current delegation taps 15 juniors into the society. If the invitation is accepted, the prospective Bonesmen engage in a series of rituals and traditions known as Tap Night, after which the new class is inducted into the secret club. In addition to the tomb, Skull and Bones owns and manages Deer Island, an island retreat on the St. Lawrence River. Author Alexandra Robbins wrote,
"The 40-acre retreat is intended to allow Bonesmen to get together and rekindle old friendships. A century ago, the island sported tennis courts and softball fields. Catboats waited on the lake. Stewards catered elegant meals."
Sounds like a pretty nice spot for a darty to me. Does your school have any secret societies? Comment which one I should cover next.
I'm sure it's a bunch of colleges with that type of stuff.
I always get asked, why are Freemasons called Freemasons? This has deep connections with the ancient cathedrals that we can't build today, and maybe even the Egyptian pyramids. The word Mason means builder, and the reason why they're called Freemasons, free builders, this is because the origins of Freemasonry was a group of builders who understood and had the knowledge of how to build these ancient structures. These specific structures that we see everywhere around the world that we cannot replicate today.
Wow.
They were the people who possessed the knowledge to build these structures. And in this specific time of history, the world had many different empires and different kings in each country. And every empire would control and restrict the people that they controlled, where they traveled, what they said, what they believed, what religion, everything. The civilians in each empire were not allowed to travel around the world. They had to stay inside of their emperor's kingdom. However, the Freemasons possessed the knowledge to build these amazing structures. Therefore, the emperors around the world would contact the Masons to come and build a magnificent structure in their kingdom or empire. This is why we see Freemasons use Egyptian symbolism, Sumerian symbolism, and all sorts of symbolism around the world, because they gained hidden knowledge from each empire around the world. They were known as Freemasons. They were free to travel the world and build. this is how the lodge system started, because they gained a lot of wealth, a lot of power, and a lot of knowledge by going around the world and gaining hidden wisdom, hidden knowledge of consciousness, how you function, psychology, the brain, and the heart. And this is how they built their kingdom of the lodge system. And that's why they are called Freemasons.
I ain't know that. Y'all let me know if that's true in the comments.
CIA, which was called the OSS in the Second World War. CIA originally, the OSS was originally founded by men who were members of an order called the Knights of Malta. It is a Roman secret society of powerful Freemasons who have operated in Europe for many, many hundreds of years. The Knights of Malta, along with the kindred orders like the Knights Templars, who were the international bankers in Switzerland. This is why Switzerland's never in any war, because this is where the Templars call home. This is the international banking. You don't mess with the boss lives. So I think that there's something going on here very big.
Do you have any idea what that is?
Yes, I certainly do. I haven't spent 40 years with this subject not to know.
So what's the answer? What's the answer then?
You know, I used to think that all these Illuminati rituals were set up just to steal our soul. Like, that was their goal, was to steal souls. But I realized the truth is way worse than that. So back in the nutrition store days, whenever I was working in Arizona, I ran into a lot of celebrities. You'd be really surprised the amount of celebrities that live in the East Valley. Now, almost all of them were chasing symbols: the eye, the pyramid, and gold. But what really makes sense, which is a little bit deeper than that, is the Illuminati isn't just about satanic rituals on TV. What it is about getting you to self-destruct. See, you don't have to sell your soul to make a deal with the devil. But what most people do, and I think the average person in the West is doing, is selling their focus. They take your focus away from God and put it into these fake...
Oh my goodness, that was deep. Selling your focus. Selling your focus, selling your energy, selling your time. That is good.
Goals, these materialistic, consumeristic ideas, they send you on all of these distractions, and then they get you to where your ego is so inflated that you start to think you are your own God. And that is exactly when they win. You may be following their system and you have no idea. What you need to do to avoid this is seek purpose, not approval. Public approval doesn't mean a single thing. You guys see what goes on in the comment section. Chasing approval from these people will destroy you from the inside out. Now, the next big one that's going to save you from this is build discipline. Self-control is spiritual freedom. Always remember that. You need to unplug now or you're going to stay programmed forever.
I like what he was saying. I like that.
They create chaos, and they create control.
Over the world headquarters in Switzerland of the World Masonic Headquarters for World Freemasonry, over the door is Ordo ab Chaos, which is Latin for order out of chaos. And all Freemasons know that term, Ordo ab Chaos. Order out of chaos. The concept is to create chaos, to create the problems. Then while the people are frightened to death of all the crime and everything that seems to be out of control, a riotous situation, the government then moves in with justification. In order to put down this terrible chaos, they must have full power of the military, full obedience of the people to give the government full power to do whatever they want. That's why we're having all over the world wars, riots, bloodshed, famines, all kinds of things happening around the world. It's being manipulated. It's being orchestrated, not just for Los Angeles.
It's conflict control.
Conflict control.
There's been more wars since the creation of the United Nations.
Deep.
The most mysterious secret societies. The Ordo Templi Orientis was founded at the beginning of the 20th century and is an international fraternal and religious organization claiming over 3,000 members. They're guided by their own religious system called the Law of Thelma, which essentially says whatever you do, do it out of love. Rituals for membership are highly stylized and include invoking ancient Egyptian gods and the devil. The Cadaver Society is a group of students at Washington and Lee University in Virginia in the United States. Neither the criteria for membership or the membership themselves are known. They have been in continuous operation since 1957, and although not much is known about them, it's believed that they're incredibly wealthy, as they frequently make large donations to the university as well as buy property, including a famous bridge that bears their name.
Man, these secret societies, bro.
I get creeped out. I am talking about the Real Hellfire Club. This is the final part. Go watch the first two if you're interested. Trigger warning if you watch this one, because this is where things get very violent. And if you couldn't tell from that intro, this was not a bunch of kids sitting around and playing D&D. This club had encounters with paranormal entities, allegedly the devil himself, and they were very violent and committed quite a bit of crime. In the previous video, I had discussed how there was a fire at Mount Pellier Hill, so at this point, the club had to move their meetings down the hill to the Stewart's house. This is a famous house as well that is said to be haunted. The club's meetings did start to decline after this point, which does make sense, as some of the members had allegedly passed away in the fire. However, the members that remain were very violent. One day a priest came to the house, and this is when the club was holding a meeting. The priest found the club members sacrificing a black cat. The priest then grabbed the cat and muttered an exorcism, at which point a demon allegedly expelled from the cat's corpse. It's said that the house is haunted by a massive black cat, so it's fair to assume that this was its origin story. The Hellfire Club did start to slowly dissolve, but it was revived in 1771 and was active for at least another 30 years. One of the most notorious members was a man named Thomas Buck Whaley. The new incarnation of the club was called the Holy Fathers, and they were much worse than their predecessors. The meetings of this club did take place at Mount Pellier Lodge, and the rumor was that the club had kidnapped a farmer's daughter, unalived her, and consumed her. There's another tale about a young farmer who was curious about the club's secretive meetings. He climbed a hill, approached the lodge, and was invited in. He was permitted to witness the night's activities. The young man was found the next morning, trembling and terrified. He could not remember his own name and spent the rest of his life barely able to speak. In another terrible tale, the club kidnapped a local woman, placed her in a barrel, set the barrel on fire, and rolled it down Mount Pellier Hill. The woman did not survive, and none of the men were convicted. Another young man was visiting a local farmhouse and had heard notorious rumors about the club. The man decided to pay the club a visit, and the next day he was found face down, unalived, in a shallow pool of water. Gina from Dublin, Ireland, who I met on TikTok, is actually the person who told me about the Real Hellfire Club. She lives in the area, and she says no one goes around Mount Pellier Lodge at night because the locals are still scared of the area. It is rumored to have a lot of paranormal activity, and even the police will not go there at night. The Stewart's house down the hill is also said to be very haunted, most commonly by the very massive black cat. At one point, a couple named Nicholas and Margaret O'Brien converted the house into an art center. It wound up turning into a lot of trouble because the tradesmen would keep quitting. They stated that there was paranormal activity in the house and that they would continuously see ghosts. One night, even one of the friends of the O'Briens witnessed a spectral entity and a massive black cat with red glowing eyes. One of the friends actually painted a picture of the black cat, and it hung in the house for several years afterwards. There were lots of reports of poltergeist activity in the house, as well as continuously people hearing bells. In 1970, a documentary was filmed in the house by a television crew, which featured a clairvoyant named Sheila St. Clair. In this documentary, she communicated with spirits in the house. In the 1990s, the house actually operated as a restaurant, which eventually closed in 2001. It is now a private residence. I would not want to live there. Anyways, that's it for this one. See you next time.
Why don't they just tear it down? Like, why is people still...
What Albert Einstein and Thomas Edison discovered, and they discovered, and people in the secret societies knew, that the brain is actually a transmitter and receiver of frequency. There's specific things you do with your mind so that you can transmit a frequency. And when you do, the whole universe moves heaven and earth to make it come into your existence. So if a person wants a new car, if they want a better job, whatever it is that they want to manifest, they can do it. They need to know how to use their brain and turn that frequency so that it actually comes into their life. You can virtually create whatever you want in your life. You can have, be, or do whatever you want. Yes, a group of people came to me, and I got inducted into the organization called the Brotherhood. Hey, the Skull and Bones is at Yale. We know that's a secret society. The Freemasons are a secret society. The Bilderberg Group is a secret society. These are all not so secret anymore. What goes on inside them are still secret.
Right.
But the fact is, when you're in, you actually learn how to, we call it manipulating energy. Another way to say it is you're taught how to use your brain and focus your frequency vibration to create in life what you want. You're virtually a magnet.
He said the stuff that happens inside is the secret.
We know Timothy Cruz and Lizzie Moss are like the two biggest Scientology celebrities right now, but it's been a minute since we've done a Scientology celeb roundup. So here are a few more Scientology celebrities that you may or may not know about. And this is a part one because there are a lot of Scientology celebrities to talk about. Michael Pena is one that shocks a lot of people. He joined Scientology because he thought it would help his career, because he saw that Jenna Elfman and her husband Bodhi Elfman were Scientologists. I guess he liked them a lot and thought they were super successful. They are still very involved. They've hosted a Scientology event within the last couple of years. The new lead singer for Linkin Park, Emily Armstrong, is a born and raised second-generation Scientologist.
Wow.
And Chloe Fineman from SNL is a second-generation Scientologist as well. She has taken some Scientology courses, but she is pretty quiet about her involvement in Scientology. People are also often shocked to hear that Nancy Cartwright, the voice of Bart Simpson, is a Scientologist. She's also Sabrina Carpenter's aunt. Sabrina Carpenter is not a Scientologist, though. Juliette Lewis was a second-generation Scientologist as well. Allegedly, there has been some evidence to suggest that Juliette has quietly left. Erica Christensen, though, is one of the second-generation celebs that has not left. This might be a little more relevant if you're a little bit older, but yes, Erica Christensen, born and raised in Scientology.
That Scientology thing is different.
Secret societies is probably the largest one as it interconnects with other types of organizations, but it's the easiest way to understand how it works with the royales at the top, beginning with the 13 families in the West, not around the world, 13 families in the West. There's probably another 13 families around the world. And the 33 families underneath and the Committee of 300 Families, with the Rosicrucians as that intersection between the purebloods and the rising lower bloodlines that come up through Freemasonry, Illuminati, into the Rosicrucians bottom half as part of that thalamic tree trunk.
Is there a hierarchy for these things like Illuminati, Freemasons, et
Yeah,
cetera?
I gave it to you, but I'll start from the bottom. Freemasonry at the bottom, Illuminati, Rosicrucian, Committee of 300 Families, Council of 33 Families, 13 families. Intersects into, I'm not sure how many families out of the 13 that are part of the worldwide one, but they are well represented.
Are those 13 families traceable back to the Nephilim?
Yes, they keep their genealogies that go back into prehistory.
What is this royal blood?
Check out these interviews from 2004, where NBC moderator Tim Russert asks both George Bush and John Kerry about their involvement in the Skull and Bones secret society during the 2004 U.S. presidential election campaign. You know, back when journalists actually did their job.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on. I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web. Number 322? First of all, he's not the nominee. And, look, I look forward... Are you prepared to lose? No, I'm not going to lose.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us? Not much, because it's a secret. Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code? I wish there were something secret I could manifest. 322, a secret number? There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret. I disagree with this president's direction that he's taking the country. We can do a better job, and I intend to do it. And we'll be watching. Be safe on the campaign trail. John Kerry, thanks for joining us. And we'll be right back.
Follow me for more stuff like this.
Neither one of them denied it.
6 Hollywood stars who are part of secret societies. 1. Jay-Z. Though primarily a music mogul, Jay-Z has acted in documentaries and specials. He's long been linked to the Freemasons and Illuminati theories due to his symbols, lyrics, and mysterious connections. 2. Angelina Jolie. Angelina's humanitarian work has taken her into elite global circles. Some believe she's tied to powerful secret groups shaping international policy behind the scenes. 3. Nicolas Cage. With a fascination for the occult and a family lineage steeped in mystery, Cage has fueled rumors that he's a member of the Freemasons, especially after his National Treasure roles. 4. Beyoncé. Beyoncé's cinematic performances in music films and her secretive lifestyle have led many to speculate she's part of the Illuminati, with cryptic imagery in her visuals adding to the intrigue. 5. Tom Cruise. While not secret, Cruise's high-ranking position in the Church of Scientology, an organization known for its secrecy and internal hierarchy, often draws parallels with secret societies. 6. Lady Gaga. Known for her theatrical roles and symbolic performances, Gaga's visuals often include esoteric imagery. Some conspiracy theorists believe she's involved with occult circles in entertainment. Do you think these Hollywood stars are hiding something? Let us know in the comments.
Hip-hop changing from positive to negative was not a consequence of history. It was not a circumstance of history. It was nothing that just happened on its own. It had nothing to do with the changing of the times. Had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with the fact that there are people in this particular society who wants to see us exactly where we are. I believe it was JT, the bigger figure, who said the label executives came to him and said, yo, brother, we need you talking about guns and whores. Right. You know what I mean? That's right. That happens. I've been in those meetings. Young Buck, he has a song on his album that talks about police terrorism. The label said absolutely not. Jimmy Iovine said absolutely not. You cannot put that on the album because it might create an atmosphere that might put police officers' lives in danger. Right. So they took the record off, but they let him keep the other 14 songs on the album that talked about killing black youth. So this is what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with a circumstance or consequence of history.
That's true. It switched completely.
You better go back and look at the real powers behind the world throne. That's the Vatican. You better go back and check out the Jesuits, because in New York, you will see who are the people who are putting the presidential candidates together if it isn't the church. You always see the cardinals and the big shots in the churches bringing all and Jones, the university back east in what is that university? It's a Jesuit university. Jesuits are really behind a lot of this stuff. Jesuits. I mean, get the movie Godfather 3, the third one in the series. Michael Corleone, everybody knows he's a godfather, he's the head of the mob family. And in the very beginning of Godfather 3, he's being anointed with a sword in New York as a member of the Knights of Malta. Yeah, it's in the movie. He's he's right in the church, and the cardinal is anointing Michael Corleone into something called the Knights of Malta. The Knights of Malta are a very powerful secret society operating behind and for the Catholic Church. They're connected to something called Opus Dei, the work of God, Opus Dei, and Opus Dei, CIA, NSA. All of these alphabet agencies are connected to the Knights of Malta, which is a Catholic institution. And it makes sense because Rome, America, is the new Holy Roman Empire. I mean, Caesar, where did Caesar rule the empire from in Rome? He ruled from a place in Rome called Capitoline Hill. Capitol Hill. And in the reference books, you can read in the history books where Caesar in the morning would go up on the hill. Well, we still say that. You know, the president's up on the hill. What was he up on the hill for in Rome? Well, he was going to officiate over the Senate. That's what we got. We got a Senate up on the hill. It's all Catholic. It's all Jesuit. They got nothing to do with Jews. We're talking Vatican, the Holy Father. This is why all over the world, all the politicians go and kiss the ring of the Holy Father and bow down and kiss the ring. Why? Because he's the Holy Father. He represents God. He is the Godfather. We're talking Rome. We're talking powerful occult orders of secret societies, Opus Dei. They're the people who are, Rome gave birth to something called P2, Propaganda Due. P2 Lodge is operating out inside the Vatican, inside the Catholic Church, as a secret society called Propaganda Due, P2. P2 is an extremely powerful occult network of very powerful politicians, military leaders, and they are well known. Even in the movie Godfather 3, P2 is mentioned twice. Go back and watch it. They talk about P2. And there's a time when the young man who's taking over the Godfather position is meeting the Grand Master of P2, Propaganda Due. It's in the movie. And he introduces him as the master of P2. Well, P2 is called Propaganda Due. It's a secret society operating in the Vatican, which is actually the terrorists of the world. They are the ones who are causing the terrorists all around the world. Terrorism, South America, Central America, and Europe, where they're blowing up cars and killing people. They send in P2. They go in and cause and kill people and cause a massive destruction. Then they pull out. Now the government has to go in to do something to help them. And so the power up on the hill, the Senate, Rome, has to go in and take care of these people. It's a trick. The whole entire world is a business. And the more I learn about this, the more you see how this stuff really works.
So the more you can manipulate knowledge and suppress knowledge, the more people will dismiss what's actually happening because they can't perceive that it's possible to happen because that knowledge has been kept from them. And so what you have with this cult is two worlds in one world. You have the secret society network I've described, which is fiercely compartmentalized, only the inner core really know the story. And then you've got the population. And what's happening is the knowledge of reality and the knowledge of where humanity is being taken is kept in the cult. And it's passed over through the generations. And the same cult has created the education system. In America, it was created by the Rockefellers, not least J.D. Rockefeller. And they own the media. They own the sources of information, apart from, people who are working to uncover this stuff. And so that information source to the population is designed to be as narrow as possible so that people have no bloody idea what they know.
Of course. Why do they want them to know?
Illuminati? That don't bother me. Yeah. I mean, I wish I was Illuminati. I'd be probably a billionaire. People always talking this Illuminati stuff. Show me Illuminati. Show me that, please. I had to work for everything I got so far. Ain't no Illuminati come and help me with nothing. You know what I'm saying? I personally, man, I believe in God. I'm a man who fears God, and I pray to God, and I don't go to church that often. I'm not gonna lie, not because I'm not religious. I just don't got the time to.
He said, I ain't got the time to.
The Rosicrucian Order was the 17th century revival of what was known as the Great White Brotherhood, which originated in Egypt with the first monotheistic pharaoh Akhenaten or Akhenaten. Initiates of this school were said to have included Hermes as well as King Solomon. The Rosicrucians are an alchemical society. Alchemy is the process of turning lead into gold, or when viewed within the individual purification of the soul, the human being the lead, eventual spiritual purity being the gold. The Rosicrucian conception of God is different within every member. They refer to God as the God of our hearts. I view God in a different sense than you do. We could both be Christian and still have a different view of the monotheistic higher power, and Rosicrucians acknowledge that and respect that. The purpose of Rosicrucianism, as stated by founder H. Spencer Lewis, or the AMARC founder, which is the American branch, as stated by him, is the inner spiritual work towards the eventual appearance of what's known as an ascended master. Now, if you have a purely Christian view, you may view these ascended masters as a demonic entity, a demonic group of entities. I'm not here to comment on whether or not that's accurate. I have not experienced transcendental states to interact with these individuals, but it does sound very similar with what Aleister Crowley referred to as higher entities that he spoke to, such as Aiwass, I believe is how you pronounce it, Aiwass maybe. However, who knows? I'm just here to tell you what the Rosicrucians believe, what they teach, and what they write in their literature. The Rosicrucian order was founded in 1613, I believe, with the three manifestos, the Fama Fraternitatis, the Confessio Fraternitatis, as well as the Alchemical Marriage of Christian Rosencroix. The author of these three books was said to be Christian Rosencroix. However, we know that not to be the case. That was the allegorical author. The real author was known as Johann Valentin Andre, who also, in my opinion, is another figurehead, another allegorical writer. And the real creator of the Rosicrucian order was Francis Bacon, as he modeled the Rosicrucian order after the Jesuit order, as he was close friends with a Jesuit priest known as Sir Toby Matthew. Now, the Rosicrucians and the Jesuits collaborated in the writing of the works of Shakespeare. Works such as The Tempest, as well as I believe it's called King Lear, are alchemical allegory for the inner process of alchemical transmutation. The Rosicrucians have an esoteric view on the life of Jesus Christ. They do believe Jesus to have been a man that lived. However, they don't believe him to be necessarily the absolute embodiment of the Father. They do believe him to be a divine messenger, but similar to other messengers over time, they believe the virgin birth of Jesus to not have been the only virgin birth. They believe other virgin births occurred with Zoroaster, Horus, Apollonius. Jesus was known as Jesus of Nazareth, as Nazareth was not actually a place at the time of Jesus. It was actually Jesus the Nazarene, as Nazarene was an offshoot of the Essene branch, which was a Gnostic sect, and Jesus was an initiate of the Nazarenes. He learned from the Nazarenes at the top of Mount Carmel until the age of 13. At the time, Jesus actually went by the name of Joseph. Yeah, that's my short overview of the Rosicrucian order. They're heavily inspired by people like Paracelsus. Oh, the history of Earth that the Rosicrucians, as well as Theosophists, as well as other esoteric mystery school adjacent societies believe in, is the concept of root races, which was popularized by Madame H.P. Blavatsky. So this is the idea that humanity, as the individual evolves from baby to man to elderly person, the microcosm, the macrocosm of humanity is also evolving, and this occurs in the stages of 7 root races. The first being the Polarian, the second being the Hyperborean, the third being the Lemurian, the fourth being the Atlantean, the fifth being our current root race, which would be known as the Aryan, and the sixth and seventh having yet to occur. And they believe that these root races are occurring alongside evolution of the actual Earth as well. Rosicrucians do believe in the vast continent known as Atlantis. Yeah, that's the Rosicrucian ideology. A brief overview of the Rosicrucian history. The Rosicrucians were the pre-occurring society to Freemasonry. Earliest speculative Freemasons in England were initiates of the Rosicrucian order. The Rosicrucians were some of the first people to actually journey to America prior to its founding after the independence of Britain. They settled in Philadelphia, and yeah, again, I'm just some guy yapping. Go subscribe to the YouTube. I got some great documentaries coming up.
Rosicrucian, I've never even heard of these people.
Secret societies, aka the
Grand
Race,
Design Exposed
are the
says,
offspring of the Jesuits.
The Jesuits of Rome have perfected.
These Jesuits people, this is like the third or fourth time they've been mentioned in this video, and this is the first time I've ever heard of these people in my life. Y'all let me know in the comments. Have y'all ever heard of this group of people? Y'all let me know.
Freemasonry to be their most magnificent and effective tool, accomplishing their purposes among Protestants. Now, surely the members of Freemasonry themselves must be deceived, because if they saw it, they wouldn't do it, right? So actually, the order is being used, and they themselves are deceived. And only within the order, higher up, are those chosen ones who know, and they are controlled by the Jesuits for Rome. Very clever. Very clever to make Protestantism do what you cannot do openly because you have been fingered by Protestantism as the Antichrist. So this is very interesting. This is a Templar fortress and a church on the island Mallorca, Spain. And there again you have the double-headed eagle, and you can go to virtually any church on that island and you will find the double-headed eagle over the altars of these churches. As I've said, Adam Weishaupt was the father of Jacobinism, and he is the one who is also the founder of the Illuminati. From the Jesuit college at Ingolstadt, it is said to have issued the sect known as the Illuminati of Bavaria, founded by Adam Weishaupt. Its nominal founder, however, seems to have played a subordinate, though conspicuous, role in the organization of the sect. You see, again, they use a front and a front and a front. Now, here are two Jesuit generals. This one over here is General Ricci, and this is General Ledochowski. And very interesting, this one over here, 1773 to 1840, he ruled during the order's suppression. Now notice this, the Vatican itself suppressed the Jesuits, between 1773 and 1814. What happened to the Vatican in that time? There was a mortal wound, and the Pope was taken into exile and he died. Isn't that correct? So who gave the mortal wound to the papacy? The own order in the own church. Power struggle. And he created, in his time, the Illuminati was created through Weishaupt, and of course is also the father of modern communism, who with his Jacobins conducted the French Revolution. Years later, Jesuit General Ledokovsky with his Bolsheviks conducted the Russian Revolution in 1917, and it's identical to the other revolution. And I will deal with that when I give a lecture on revolutions and wars and dictators later in the series. France's greatest authority on the Jesuits, Edmond Paris, said, "The Russian Revolution, by eliminating the Tsar, protector of the Orthodox Church, had it not decapitated the great rival and helped the penetration of the Roman Church, we must strike while the iron is hot." The famous Russicum, Russian College of Rome, is created in 1929, and its clandestine missionaries will take the good news to its schismatic country. 1 century after their expulsion by Tsar Alexander I, the Jesuits will again undertake the conquest of the Slav world. And did the poor Slavic world suffer? They were slaughtered by the millions.
Wow.
History will show what happened there when Stalin, probably one of the greatest mass murderers of all time, did his thing. Frederick the Great, so-called, of Prussia, caused the high degrees of Masonic constitutions of the ancient rite to be revived, and he himself wrote the constitutions under the guide of the Jesuit general. Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, Albert G. Mackey says that himself. Very interesting. And now notice this. This is a source that's unbelievable. This is Isis Unveiled by Blavatsky herself, the author of Secret Doctrine. She says that the rites are the offspring of the sons of Ignatius Loyola. The Scottish Rite and all of these worked under the instructions from the general of the Jesuits. So who controls Freemasonry? The Jesuits, there's no doubt about it.
These Jesuit people, I didn't know nothing about them.
All right, brothers and sisters, so from the establishment of Babylon, we're going to talk about how Babylon got established. So you have Babylon beginning in Genesis 11. Genesis 11, you have Nimrod, and then you have the Tower of Babel, and then you have the disbursement of the nations, the kindreds, the tongue of the people, and they left Babylon, and then you have Babylon being dispersed. And then from Babylon, you have Kabbalism. And from Kabbalism, you have the Essenes. And then from the Essenes, you have the Gnostics. The Gnostics were founded by Simon Magus, who, according to Jewish scholars, he was a sorcerer to Nero. I believe Simon Magus is the same Simon that was in the book of Acts that asked for power from Yahweh Elohim. So he was a sorcerer. He practiced witchcraft. So you can see how you have from Babylon, and you know, from the establishment of Babylon, you have from Cain. So we all know Cain unalived Abel, and then he moved to the east. He moved to the east, I want to say. So, and then from that, you have, this is the beginning of the teachings of the fallen angels, or then you start talking about the book of Enoch. But at the end of the day, it's Samjaza. It's antichrist teaching. It's all the teachings that are in opposition to Yahweh Elohim. So once again, you have the establishment of Babylon, then you have Kabbalism, then you have the Essenes, then you have the Gnostics. So when you talk about the Gnostics, you start bringing into from the Old Testament to the New Testament. Because remember, Simon was the one who asked for the power. He was like, I'll give you money. And then Paul was like, or was it Paul or Peter? One of the disciples, it was like, look, I can't give you the Holy Spirit if you asking for money. It doesn't work like that. So and then from Simon Magus and the Gnostics, you have the Templars, the Knights Templars, and they're really like the first establishment of like what we know of it today as a quote-unquote secret society. And then from the Templars, and around that time, it was around 300s, 400s, 500. This is when you have the establishment, right before you have the establishment of Roman Catholicism in the papal setting. So first you have it in the pagan setting. Yes, you have it 100s, 200, 300 AD. But that was in the pagan. And then it transitioned from pagan Rome to papal Rome in 538 AD. When you have that transition of power, when papal authority got its authority, then you have the church establishing its authority over God's word. So now you can kind of see how the Templars are established. Just the Templars were like the first secret society as we know it, because they wanted to harness that. They wanted to harness that secret knowledge, because they kept trying to unalive the Christians or the Jews at that time. And every time they tried to unalive them, more Christians and more followers of Christ would come up. So they said, you know what? Instead of trying to unalive them, let's just join them. We're going to harness this information. And what we're going to do is we're going to hide it in plain sight. We're going to allow them to continue teaching their Christian doctrine. But we're going to have a secret society within there which holds the secret. You see, and this, it goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. When Eve went to the tree, Satan, he said, I got a secret. You can be like God. It's always been a stupid little secret, brothers and sisters. But it ain't no dang secret. With God, with Yahweh Elohim, there is no secret. It's an open book. So then from the Knights Templars, you have the Islamic, and we're going to get down into the specificities and the details, but I have to go. So the Knights Templars, and then you have the Rosicrucianists, and then you have the Jesuits, which tried to counteract the Protestant Reformation, because people started to find out the truth, like Martin Luther, Zwingli, Huss, and Jerome, and they became martyrs for the truth. And then you have the Jesuits, started by Ignatius Loyola in 1517, I believe. And then you have Freemasonry. And Freemasonry is controlled by the Illuminati, and the Illuminati is controlled by the Jesuits. And we all know that the Jesuits is the secret society, or it's the special operations for Roman Catholicism. I just gave y'all truth, and this ain't my opinion. This is all history, brothers and sisters. Study to show thyself approved. God bless.
Something that always catches my attention is the topic of secret societies, so today we're talking about the Freemasons. The Freemasons say that they're the oldest and the largest fraternity, but the world knows them as a secret society. It's said that there is about 1.3 million members in the US alone. There are 33 degrees of being a Freemason, and that's where things get more interesting. These members include people that are the richest, the most famous, the top politicians, you name it, they're there. The Freemason symbol is this right here, which is also interpreted as the all-seeing eye that you see on a dollar bill, or the Illuminati symbol, which is where our conspiracies kind of come into play. Because so many top elite people are involved in the secret society, people think that the Freemasons have this secret agenda to create a new world order. I definitely think that people in power are corrupt, and the Freemasons have done a great job at keeping their secrets a secret. Secrets create rumors, and rumors create conspiracies, which stirs up the ultimate question, what is their agenda? What are they conspiring?
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The majority of secret societies have the same truth. The initiation, the symbols, the hierarchy, all of it can be boiled down to this one truth. Ordinary consciousness is limited, but with specific initiation, training, and experience, you can access altered or higher states of consciousness. That is what they are all doing. This is true for Freemasons or the Hermetic orders, mystical Islam, Tibetan Buddhism, Kabbalah, chaos magic, modern occult groups, psychedelic mysticism, transhumanism, the cult of Mithras, the Pythagorean Brotherhood. I could go on, but it's usually the same model with consciousness as a ladder, and that most people lived in kind of a low-level, unaware, asleep state.
Right.
But that you can ascend to different levels of awareness, which are just different states of consciousness. And then secret societies guard this knowledge and initiate people into it. And how they do it can be unique. It can be meditation or breath work or psychedelics or ecstatic experiences or mantras or symbolic rituals or visualization. But these are all just tools to get you to access different states of consciousness. And one of the great things about being alive today is before you had to access one of these secret societies and have someone teach you how to access these different states of consciousness. And now it's all over. It's not really secret anymore. And you don't need all the outdated truth claims anymore either. You can put the Wim Hof app on your phone. You can go to Oregon and eat a mushroom. So I don't think that it's secret knowledge anymore, and especially with neuroscience, we just kind of know what the brain is doing in these different states of consciousness. But I still think it's a good idea to have some kind of teacher or practice helping you be able to cultivate these kinds of mystical experiences or altered states of consciousness. Otherwise, I see people get lost down rabbit holes where they start feeling like what they're experiencing is capital R reality, and then start kind of selling that knowledge to other people. For more on what modern mysticism looks like, check out my book, No Nonsense Spirituality, and also my YouTube channel. I'm starting to put more stuff on there.
That was a dope breakdown. About
Illuminati
consciousness.
means enlightened, and it has roots in the Enlightenment, and that obviously is like shedding light on all of these secret societies, especially rooted in the Western esoteric tradition, thinking for yourself and finding light within yourself. It's like so symbolically strong.
Western esoteric tradition. What does that even mean?
Basically, it centers around ancient lost knowledge that maybe has been driven underground, especially in the era of the Catholic Church and more stringent religious orders. So it stems from Egyptian Hermeticism, Christian Gnosticism back in the day before there was a Catholic Church who was driving all of theological discourse, the Jewish Kabbalah, which is adjacent to Christian Gnosticism, and alchemy. And then a variety of occult beliefs come out of that. So we get witchcraft, we get trying to turn materials into gold of alchemy, which is actually where chemistry comes from as well. And so the study of the planets, astrology gives us geometry and sacred geometry, which is the patterns of the planets floating through space. But that also gives us beautiful architecture from like the Gothic area that we see in vaulted ceilings. So you can see the imprint of Western esoteric knowledge on our modern world and even in the ancient world. But really what it is the belief that you yourself internally can find God. In the Western esoteric tradition, God doesn't mean God as we conceive it in the modern context. It really means like the greater universe, energy, source, whatever you want to call it. But for shorthand, we'll call it God. And that is access from within you. And you don't need anybody else, no order, no dogma to tell you what God is. And this is obviously a very radical idea, and a lot of institutions tried to suppress that over the years. And these people are very into intellectualism, individualism, and that was threatening to society. So over the years, it got driven underground by the Catholic Church, by monarchies, even by academic institutions. And that's where secret societies come from, because as they're driven underground, they're like, we need to protect this knowledge that we've had and gained over the years. So as this knowledge gets pushed underground by the prevailing forces, they turn into secret societies, and it's by invitation only that you can get into them. And they don't want the knowledge to get out because they'll, of course, be executed or excommunicated. And that's where the history of these secret societies comes from. And they are real. Like, these are factually true that we have esoteric knowledge. Esoteric meaning hidden underground knowledge. A lot of it has been lost, and there's entire academies dedicated to learning about this knowledge. At the University of Amsterdam, in the religious studies department, there's an entire department dedicated to Western esotericism. And Amsterdam itself has a lot of academies. There are similar university disciplines at the Sorbonne even. So yeah, this is a legitimate field of study, and it kind of gets co-opted into this like crazy conspiracy hive mind of the internet. In this episode, I did do some research into the more conspiracy-minded side of things, just because I think that's what everyone is familiar with. You're familiar with like, oh, Beyonce is in the Illuminati. Yeah. And like, I'm so interested in like, why do people think that, and where does that come from?
All right, guys, that was another compilation on secret societies. You made it this far, you a real one for real. Make sure you put that in the comments. But how they was breaking that down and how they actually became secret societies, and how they was trying to implement these rules and these laws and these. And they like, well, we want to make sure that we keep these to us. We don't want these to die. So they went underground. A lot of these companies or institutions went underground to try to keep this knowledge or this consciousness. And it only became through invite only that you was able to get into it. But how they was breaking it down was I've never heard that before. Like, I'm not familiar with secret societies. All I'm familiar with is like the Illuminati and the Freemasons and all that type of stuff. But even then, I'm not extremely familiar with how they was formed and the reason behind their forming and all that type of stuff. So to hear some of these things, like I said, do your own research. Make sure you do that first, you know what I'm saying? But to hear how some of these people was breaking this stuff down and how they was even formed and what pushed them, and it's interesting to hear the history on some of these organizations and how they was formed. And to hear some of these organizations or societies and how much power that they do have, it's crazy. But you made it this far, you're a real one for real. Make sure you put that in the comments. But till next time, self-love and positivity. Fire Squad, I got you and you know it.